On my 31st birthday, my mother-in-law handed me divorce papers. From all of us, she announced as my husband filmed, laughing. I calmly signed and left. None of them knew the move I'd already made. What if the cruelest betrayal you ever faced turned out to be the greatest gift of your life? Just 3 days before my 31st birthday, I walked into our kitchen to find my mother-in-law, Eleanor, hunched over the table. Legal documents were spread everywhere, and she was meticulously poring over them, a red pen in hand, glasses perched on her nose. The house was quiet, and I'd expected to be alone as I usually was before my early shift at Rossi's restaurant. But there she was, eyes gleaming with an intense, almost predatory satisfaction I'd never seen. When our eyes met, she flinched, quickly gathering the papers and stuffing them into a cheerful pink birthday envelope adorned with silver butterflies. Just some family paperwork, she chirped, her voice dripping with an artificial sweetness that instantly put me on edge. Eleanor never called me dear. She usually referred to me as Mark's wife, or simply she. The endearment felt like a test, something she might discard once its purpose was served. The envelope, however, looked innocent, almost thoughtful. I wondered if it contained property deeds or insurance forms that my husband, Mark, needed to sign. I poured my coffee, trying to make small talk, asking if she needed help. She laughed, a light, airy sound, completely unlike her usual reserved demeanor. Oh, this is something special I've been working on for quite some time. Mark doesn't even know about it yet. Her secrecy intrigued me. In our 2 years of marriage, Eleanor had never been one for surprises or gift-giving beyond obligatory holidays. She was practical, direct, not sentimental. The idea that she was putting effort into my birthday felt like a breakthrough in our strained relationship. It's something that will change everything, she continued, carefully tucking the envelope into her purse. I've been consulting with professionals to make sure everything is handled properly. You deserve something meaningful after all this time. Her words filled me with a sudden, unexpected hope. Maybe Eleanor had finally recognized my efforts to fit into their family. Perhaps she'd seen how hard I was trying to find a more respectable job, or how much I loved Mark despite their constant disapproval. The thought of a genuine gesture for my 31st birthday made me feel lighter than I had in months. Moments later, Mark appeared, already dressed for work. He kissed my cheek, grabbed his travel mug, and then shared a meaningful glance with his mother. A silent communication passed between them that completely excluded me. When I asked if everything was all right, Mark just smiled, saying they were planning something special for my birthday. The rest of that week, Eleanor's behavior grew increasingly pleasant. She called twice to confirm my availability for dinner on my birthday, even suggesting we celebrate at Rossi's, my workplace. This shocked me completely. She'd always made excuses to avoid the restaurant, deeming it beneath her. I think it would be meaningful to celebrate where you work, she explained, her words sounding caring but with an undertone that unsettled me. Eleanor simply didn't speak in sentimental language. Her sudden change felt calculated. Beth, Mark's sister, also started acting differently. She'd smile mysteriously whenever Eleanor mentioned the birthday plans and volunteered to help with arrangements, something she usually avoided. Her enthusiasm felt suspicious, but I pushed down my doubts, clinging to the hope of their apparent acceptance. Mark's excitement also swelled. He constantly checked his phone, responding to texts with satisfied grins. When I tried to peek, he'd angle the screen away, playfully calling it surprise business. His secrecy too felt loving, conspiratorial. The night before my birthday, Eleanor called one last time. Wear something nice, she advised, but nothing too formal. You'll want to be comfortable for what we have planned. Her tone held an edge of anticipation I mistook for excitement about finally celebrating me. I meticulously chose an outfit, a navy dress, hoping to appear professional yet approachable. I wanted to look perfect for what I hoped would be our breakthrough as a family. That evening, Mark was unusually affectionate, holding me close and whispering how much he loved me, his intensity almost like a farewell. Tomorrow will be a day you'll never forget, he murmured into my hair. I drifted to sleep feeling cherished and hopeful, oblivious to the guilt behind his tenderness. Eleanor's decorated envelope, I later realized, was poised to deliver its devastating contents. While I dreamt of acceptance, she was probably rehearsing a speech about family standards and difficult decisions. The woman who had smiled so strangely that morning was counting down the hours until she could publicly humiliate me. I woke on my 31st birthday believing it would mark my acceptance into Mark's family. Instead, it became the day Eleanor handed me the greatest gift of my life. Freedom from their toxic judgment and a chance to discover who I could become without their limitations. From the beginning, I knew I was an outsider. Our first family gathering after the honeymoon, Mark's cousin Liam's graduation party, set the tone. I'd spent 2 hours carefully selecting a conservative black dress, hoping to blend in. Eleanor greeted me at the door with air kisses that never quite landed, then immediately ushered me toward a group of relatives I'd never met. This is Mark's wife, she announced, pausing deliberately before adding, she works in the service industry. A knowing eyebrow raise from Susan, Eleanor's sister, and a sympathetic, pitying sigh from another cousin, Janet, confirmed the implied judgment. How interesting, Janet said, her smile tight. What kind of service work do you do? Eleanor swiftly interjected, explaining I was still figuring out my career path, and merely temporarily in food service, painting me as lost rather than employed. The conversation continued around me, discussing internships, promotions, and Beth's engagement to a doctor. When someone asked about my background, Eleanor smoothly redirected to Mark's accounting practice. I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment to breathe away from their suffocating disapproval. In the hallway, I overheard Eleanor telling someone, "We're hoping she'll find something more suitable soon. Mark deserves a wife who can contribute to their social position properly." The words stung, reducing my identity to my perceived failure to meet their standards. Thanksgiving dinner 3 months later followed the same pattern with increased intensity. Eleanor ensured everyone shared their professional achievements, strategically skipping over me. "I'm thankful for Beth's engagement to Dr. Miller," she beamed, "and for Mark's growing client base." When my turn came, I offered generic gratitude for family and good health, avoiding any mention of work that might trigger another lecture. Afterward, Susan pulled me aside ostensibly to help with dishes, but truly to deliver unsolicited advice. "You know, dear, Eleanor just wants what's best for Mark. Have you considered going back to school? So many opportunities for women willing to improve themselves." Their consensus was clear. I was inadequate and they had solutions. The holidays became tests of endurance. At Christmas, Eleanor gave Beth a silk scarf, while I received a book titled Professional Success for Women, wrapped in newspaper. The message was unmistakable. Others received gifts. I received homework. Mark's birthday party in February, held at an upscale restaurant with his professional colleagues, highlighted his growing shame. When asked about my work, Mark interjected, "She's exploring different opportunities right now," avoiding my gaze. The man who once lauded my work ethic now treated my job as a family secret. Beth's engagement party in March brought new levels of social torture. Her sorority sisters, all successful professionals, asked polite questions about my career. Eleanor hovered, ready to redirect attention whenever I mentioned Rossi's. She'd interrupt with wedding plans or inquire about someone else's job, effectively erasing my presence. The worst incident came during Easter dinner when Eleanor's friend, Christine, a retired executive, spent the meal discussing her children's impressive careers. When she asked about my background, Eleanor actually interrupted my response to explain I was between opportunities and considering various options for professional growth. I retreated to the powder room, crying silently, feeling completely erased. Eleanor was rewriting my identity to fit her narrative, turning steady employment into temporary confusion, and honest work into something shameful. The pattern at family gatherings became painfully predictable. Eleanor would position me near people likely to inquire about my work, then swoop in to manage the conversation, creating fictional versions of my life that sounded more acceptable. Mark's transformation was the most heartbreaking. The man who'd loved my independence now looked embarrassed, quickly changing the subject or making jokes about upgrading my career, as if my current job was a temporary embarrassment. The family group chat became another source of daily humiliation, with Beth posting articles about successful women, then interrogating me about my professional development. Eleanor's friends at the country club described me as Mark's burden, a project the family was helping him with. Their pitying expressions confirmed Eleanor's portrayal of me. The constant criticism began to erode my self-image. I started shopping for clothes I couldn't afford, desperate to look like the professional women Eleanor admired. My credit card balance grew, my self-confidence shrank. By the spring of our second year, I was a shadow of the confident woman Mark had married. Eleanor's systematic campaign had succeeded in making me question my worth. Every family interaction reinforced the message that I was a temporary embarrassment, not a permanent family member. The breaking point arrived during a phone conversation I wasn't meant to hear. Eleanor was talking to Christine about Mark's marriage. "I keep praying he'll come to his senses before it's too late," she'd said, her words slicing through me. "He's such a good boy and he deserves someone who can enhance his life rather than hold him back." Standing in my own hallway listening to my mother-in-law pray for my marriage's destruction, I finally understood. Acceptance was never going to be possible. Eleanor didn't just disapprove of my job, she disapproved of my very existence in Mark's life. The battle I'd been fighting was rigged, designed to wear me down until I either transformed completely or disappeared. The morning after that devastating phone call, I sat at my laptop with renewed determination. If Eleanor was praying for Mark to leave me, I would prove her wrong by becoming the professional woman she claimed he deserved. Job search websites glowed on my screen as I created profiles on every platform. My resume, a meager page, listed 3 years at Rossi's, a high school diploma, and scattered customer service experience. I stared at the blank sections where degrees and accomplishments should have been, Eleanor's voice echoing in my head about real qualifications. I rewrote my job descriptions 5 times, trying to make serving tables sound like executive experience. Managed multiple client relationships simultaneously while maintaining high satisfaction ratings. Coordinated complex service delivery under time-sensitive conditions. The words felt fake, but online articles promised strategic language could bridge experience gaps. Cover letters became my obsession. I woke early to craft personalized messages for administrative assistant, customer service, and entry-level office jobs across 3 counties. Each letter took an hour, highlighting my reliability, communication skills, and ability to work under pressure. The first rejection arrived within hours. The second shortly after. By the end of the week, my inbox overflowed with polite dismissals. I wasn't qualified for anything beyond my current situation. Mark found me crying over my laptop one evening. "Maybe you're aiming too high too fast," he suggested, rubbing my shoulders. "There's nothing wrong with starting smaller." His words, meant to comfort, echoed his mother's constant message that I should lower my expectations. The interview at Albright Insurance Company became my first real-world lesson in professional humiliation. The sharp-suited women clicking across marble floors, expensive briefcases in hand, intimidated me. Ms. Albright, the hiring manager, barely glanced at my resume before setting it aside. "Your background is quite limited for this position," she said, her disappointment evident. "We typically hire candidates with insurance experience or business degrees. What made you think you'd be qualified for account management?" My carefully prepared answers about transferable skills fell flat. Ms. Albright checked her watch as I spoke, making it clear I was wasting her time. "Perhaps you should consider positions more aligned with your current skill set," she suggested, ending the interview 15 minutes early. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. I sat in the parking lot, replaying every cringeworthy moment. Eleanor's voice played in my head. Some people just aren't meant for professional environments. Community college enrollment became my next desperate strategy. The evening business program promised the credentials Eleanor claimed I lacked. I registered for Introduction to Business, Basic Accounting, and Professional Communication, paying with money saved for furniture. My first night revealed how unprepared I was. Other students, mostly working professionals, spoke confidently of their corporate experiences while I quietly took notes. Professor Davies assigned a project about professional networking. I had no connections, no mentors, no idea how to approach strangers. I realized how isolated I was. Mark's reaction to my college enrollment was lukewarm. "Are you sure this is worth the time and money?" he asked, seeing my class schedule. "Maybe you should focus on finding work first." His practical concerns made financial sense, but his lack of enthusiasm felt like another vote of no confidence. My performance at Rossi's began to decline. Late night studying left me tired. Constant rejection chipped away at my cheerful energy. Mr. Rossi noticed. "You seem troubled lately," he observed during a quiet shift. "Is everything all right at home?" His genuine concern made me want to confess everything, but how could I explain that my husband's family was systematically destroying my confidence? I blamed general stress, promising to do better. Sophia, the head cook, became my unofficial therapist, wordlessly handing me extra coffee after difficult days of job hunting. "Education is good," she said one day, "but don't let anyone make you ashamed of honest work." The financial pressure of my improvement campaign created new problems. Interview clothes, gas for driving to interviews, textbooks, tuition fees. Our tight budget strained. Mark began questioning every purchase. "Maybe we should take a break from all this," he suggested after reviewing our credit card statements. "You're spending more money trying to get jobs than you'd earn in the first few months." His practical observation felt like abandonment. The community college library became my refuge. Surrounded by business textbooks, I tried to absorb knowledge that might make me worthy. My grades were excellent, proving I had the intelligence Eleanor claimed I lacked. Professor Davies praised my assignments. For 3 hours each week I felt valued, but those feelings evaporated once I returned home. The spring semester brought advanced business communication and my first presentation. Explaining customer relationship management principles I'd learned at the restaurant, I felt confident. My classmates seemed genuinely interested in my practical experience. That confidence lasted until I shared my academic success with Mark. "That's great," he said absently, scrolling through his phone. "Maybe Eleanor will be impressed when you finish the program." His response reduced my achievement to ammunition in his mother's ongoing war for approval. The semester ended with strong grades and renewed hope, but job applications yielded the same rejections: insufficient experience, degree completion required, corporate background needed. Each email reinforced the message that education alone wouldn't bridge the gap. Eleanor's reaction to my academic progress was predictably dismissive. "Community college is a good start," she'd said, "though real career advancement usually requires proper university education." Even my success became evidence of my continued inadequacy. Summer arrived with my determination intact. I created spreadsheets to track applications. Green for submitted, yellow for pending, red for rejections. Within 3 weeks, my screen was a sea of red. The rejection from Pinnacle Marketing stung particularly. I'd driven 45 minutes for the interview, wearing a blazer bought specifically for the occasion. The HR director glanced at my resume, asked 2 questions about my restaurant experience, then spent 10 minutes explaining why they needed someone with a traditional business background. "Your customer service skills are admirable," she said, "but this position requires strategic thinking and analytical capabilities that come from corporate experience." She might as well have told me waitresses couldn't think. The folder of rejection letters grew thick. While your background is interesting meant rejection. We've decided to pursue other candidates meant failure. Some companies never responded, leaving me to obsessively check my email for weeks. Those silences felt worse than direct rejections. Eleanor's weekly phone calls became barely concealed gloating sessions. "How's the job search going, dear?" she'd ask with false sweetness. When I admitted another week of silence, she'd make sympathetic sounds that felt like celebration. "These things take patience," she'd say. "Not everyone is cut out for certain types of work." The interview at Westfield Insurance was the most humiliating. The receptionist made me wait 2 hours. Mr. Westfield finally called me in, surprised to see me. "Oh, right, the restaurant girl," he said, shuffling papers. He asked me to complete a computer skills assessment involving spreadsheet functions I'd never seen. My confusion was obvious. "This position requires technical competency," he explained. "Perhaps you should consider roles that better match your current skill level." The suggestion that I should stay in my lane felt like Eleanor speaking through a stranger's mouth. Mark started noticing my defeated returns from interviews. "How did it go today?" he'd ask. I began editing my stories, removing the most humiliating details to preserve what remained of his respect. When the hiring manager at Thompson Real Estate laughed at my salary expectations, I told Mark the interview went pretty well. The community college campus became my sanctuary. Professor Davies treated me with respect, praising my assignments. My classmates, mostly working adults, didn't judge my restaurant background. Business communication taught me to analyze my failures objectively. My presentations earned high marks. "Your practical experience provides valuable perspective," Professor Davies told the class, making me feel knowledgeable instead of inadequate. But academic success didn't translate to employment. The rejection from Coastal Bank arrived the same week I received an A on my midterm. "While your educational efforts are commendable, we require candidates with banking experience for this entry-level position." The irony was crushing. Rossi's restaurant provided the only stability in my chaotic world. Mr. Rossi noticed my distraction. "Is everything okay at home?" he asked. I couldn't explain. I blamed stress. He wasn't convinced, but he respected my privacy, quietly giving me easier sections and extra breaks. Sophia, the head cook, became my unexpected source of support. She'd worked at Rossi's for 15 years, a single mother. "They try to make you think you're not good enough," she said one evening. "But look around here. You handle 6 tables during rush hour, remember every order, keep customers happy. That takes intelligence and skill they don't teach in fancy schools." Leo, the youngest staff member, offered encouragement. "You're the smartest person here. Those companies don't know what they're missing." His faith felt precious because it came without conditions. The financial strain affected every aspect of our marriage. Interview outfits, gas, parking fees, tuition. Our savings account dwindled. Mark questioned whether this investment was sustainable. "Maybe you should take a break from the applications," he suggested. "Focus on school for now." His suggestion felt like surrender. Sleep became elusive as rejection anxiety invaded my nights. I'd replay interview mistakes, wondering what I could have said differently. The darkness amplified every insecurity Eleanor had planted. My appetite disappeared. Food became fuel. Eleanor noticed my weight loss at our monthly family dinner, commenting with false concern that felt more like satisfaction. Even my physical appearance became evidence of my failure. The stack of rejection letters grew so thick I moved them to a larger folder. Each represented hours of hope, effort, and disappointment. Some employers were kind, others brutally honest. The result was always the same. I wasn't good enough for their professional world. By autumn, I'd applied to 47 positions across 4 counties. The rejections were routine yet still stung. Eleanor's predictions about my limitations seemed accurate. Monday afternoon found me at the kitchen table, surrounded by the remnants of another failed week. 47 rejections. Eleanor's latest dismissive comment about community college. Mark's growing impatience with our expenses. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. Usually I ignored them, but something made me answer. Perhaps I was hoping for a miracle. "Hello, is this Chloe speaking?" The voice was professional yet warm, not the hurried efficiency I'd grown to expect. "This is Sarah Chen from Grand Plaza Hotel's Human Resources Department. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time." My heart stopped. Grand Plaza Hotel. I remembered submitting that application during a desperate evening 6 months ago. It had been one of dozens, cast into the void of online job boards with little hope. "We received your application for our guest services coordinator position," Sarah continued, "and I was wondering if you're still interested in discussing opportunities with our team." Her words were impossible. Someone was actually calling me about a job, treating my application as if it had value. I set down the shirt I'd been folding, hands trembling. "Yes, absolutely," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm very interested." Sarah's laugh was genuine. "Wonderful. I have to tell you, your restaurant experience really caught our attention. We find that candidates with your background often excel in hospitality because you understand customer service from the ground up." Her words were revolutionary. Someone was praising my waitressing experience instead of apologizing for it. Sarah explained that Grand Plaza specialized in exceptional guest experiences and valued employees who understood service excellence through practical application, not just theoretical training. My years at Rossi's weren't a liability, they were credentials. We offer comprehensive training programs for career development, she continued, including management track opportunities. Our benefits package includes health insurance, dental, retirement planning, and educational assistance. The benefits surpassed anything I'd imagined. At Rossi's, health insurance was a luxury. The idea of an employer investing in my education felt foreign and wonderful. There's one more aspect that might interest you, Sarah said, her voice excited. The role includes housing in our employee residential building. A fully furnished apartment with utilities included, just a 5-minute walk from the hotel. I had to sit down. Free housing meant independence from Mark's family and their financial pressure. 3 hours away from Eleanor's disapproving presence felt like an impossible dream being offered as reality. The distance meant a fresh start where nobody knew about my year of perceived failures. The salary ranges from $42,000 to $48,000 annually, depending on experience and performance. My income from Rossi's barely reached $30,000. The financial independence this job offered would transform my life. I realize this might be a big decision since you'd be relocating, Sarah said. But we're impressed with your background and think you'd be an excellent fit for our team culture. Would you be interested in scheduling a phone interview later this week? My mind raced. Professional respect, financial security, distance from Eleanor's toxicity, a chance to prove my worth. Everything I desperately sought was being offered by someone who saw potential instead of limitations. I would love to schedule an interview, I said, my voice stronger than it had been in months. We scheduled the interview for Thursday. After hanging up, I sat in my quiet kitchen, feeling emotions I'd almost forgotten. Hope bubbled up, replacing the constant anxiety. The irony wasn't lost on me. Eleanor's birthday envelope sat somewhere in this house, filled with legal documents designed to destroy my place in this family. Meanwhile, I now possessed information that would prove every negative thing she'd ever said about my potential was completely wrong. The timing felt like cosmic justice. I wanted to call Mark immediately, but something held me back. This opportunity was mine alone, discovered through my own efforts despite his family's discouragement. For the first time in our marriage, I had something valuable that didn't require their approval. The job offer represented more than employment. It was vindication. Sarah Chin had seen qualities in my application that dozens of other employers had missed or dismissed. Someone finally recognized my restaurant experience as valuable. I decided to keep the news secret until my birthday celebration. Eleanor had spent 2 years trying to prove I wasn't good enough. Now I could reveal I was not only good enough, but I was moving beyond their limited vision. The decorated envelope she prepared would pale in comparison to the real gift I'd be sharing. That evening, I moved through my routine at Rossi's with renewed energy. My regulars noticed, commenting on my bright smile. Mrs. Peterson, who came in every Monday, said I looked happier than she'd seen me in months. The secret knowledge felt powerful. While Eleanor prepared whatever surprise she thought would devastate me, I held information that would transform our entire dynamic. For once, I would be the one with shocking news to share. 3 days stretched ahead, days to savor the knowledge that everything was about to change. Eleanor's envelope might contain family paperwork, but my future now held possibilities she couldn't imagine or control. Tuesday morning brought my phone interview with Sarah Chin. I locked myself in the bedroom while Mark was at work. The conversation exceeded every hope. Sarah's questions focused on scenarios I could answer confidently. Handling difficult customers, managing multiple priorities, maintaining service excellence. Your references from Rossi's restaurant are glowing, she said. Mr. Rossi spoke very highly of your reliability and customer relationship skills. That's exactly the foundation we build on here. Hearing my current employer praise me felt like vindication. The formal job offer arrived via email that afternoon. The PDF was official and beautiful with the hotel's elegant letterhead. Guest Services Coordinator, $45,000 annually, comprehensive benefits, employee housing included. I printed 3 copies, folding one carefully to carry in my purse like a talisman. That evening at Rossi's, I moved through my shift with an energy I hadn't felt in months. Every customer interaction reminded me that my skills had value. When Mrs. Chin complimented my service and left a generous tip, I thought about how those same abilities would translate to luxury hotel hospitality. You seem different tonight, Sophia observed during our break. More like yourself again. He was right. The weight of inadequacy had lifted. Mark's call Wednesday morning changed the trajectory of my secret planning. Mom wants to take you out for your birthday tomorrow, he said, excitement in his voice. She suggested Rossi since you love working there. His interpretation of Eleanor's choice made perfect sense to me. Finally, she was acknowledging my workplace instead of dismissing it. That's wonderful, I said, genuinely touched. I can't believe she wants to celebrate at Rossi's. Does this mean she's finally accepting my job? Mark's pause lasted just long enough to plant seeds of hope. I think she's beginning to understand what makes you happy, he said carefully. She wants this birthday to be special. His words felt like confirmation that family dynamics were shifting. Combined with my secret job offer, everything seemed to be aligning for a perfect celebration of new beginnings. Beth's text message added to my excitement. Can't wait for tomorrow night. This birthday will definitely be memorable. Her enthusiasm seemed genuine for the first time. Maybe Mark had talked to his family. I spent Wednesday evening planning exactly how I'd reveal my news. The job offer letter sat in my jewelry box, waiting for the perfect moment. I rehearsed different approaches in the bathroom mirror. I have some exciting news to share. 3 days ago, I received a job offer from Grand Plaza Hotel. The words felt powerful, promising to rewrite Eleanor's narrative about my professional inadequacy. I imagined her shocked expression, Mark's proud smile, Beth's grudging respect. Thursday morning shopping became an adventure in self-expression. I chose a navy dress, elegant but subtle. The fabric felt expensive, the cut flattering. I wanted to look like the professional woman I was about to become. My hair appointment at Sandra's salon was a luxury I justified as an investment in my future image. You're glowing today, Sandra said, styling my hair. Something good must be happening. Something wonderful, I confirmed. I can't talk about it yet, but tonight is going to change everything. Sandra's knowing smile made me feel like we were conspirators. Sarah's confirmation had been brief. We're moving forward with the hiring process pending your acceptance. We'd like you to start in 2 weeks. 2 weeks felt perfect. Enough time to process, but soon enough to escape Eleanor's influence. I practiced my announcement during the drive to Rossi's. I want to share some wonderful news with all of you. I've been offered a position at Grand Plaza Hotel. The words felt foreign and exciting. My anticipation grew as I parked. Mr. Rossi waved from behind the counter, probably wondering why I was arriving as a customer. Tonight I'd tell him about my career advancement. The secret job offer had armored me against Eleanor's usual criticism. When she'd commented on Tuesday about my dead-end situation, I'd simply smiled and said things were looking up. When she'd mentioned Mark needed a wife who could contribute meaningfully to their social position, I'd agreed completely, knowing I was about to exceed her wildest expectations. Beth's social media posts about ambitious women had bounced off me harmlessly. Soon she'd see I'd been ambitious all along. Mark's excitement for tonight was obvious. He checked his phone constantly. When I'd asked about the birthday plans, he just smiled mysteriously. His secretive behavior felt loving and conspiratorial. The jewelry box held my job offer letter like a secret weapon. Tonight, that folded document would transform me from Eleanor's disappointing daughter-in-law into a professional success story. The woman who'd prayed for my failure was about to witness my greatest triumph. Walking toward Rossi's entrance for my birthday celebration, I felt lighter than I had since my wedding day. The secret knowledge gave me confidence. Eleanor's decorated envelope might contain family paperwork, but my purse held the key to freedom, respect, and vindication. The bell above Rossi's entrance chimed as I pushed through the familiar glass door, my family following me into the warm, welcoming atmosphere I'd called my second home for 3 years. Chloe. Mr. Rossi's voice boomed as he spotted us. His weathered face broke into the genuine smile I'd grown to treasure. He hurried over, wiping his hands on his apron. This must be the birthday celebration you mentioned. Mr. Rossi, I'd like you to meet my family, I said, surprising myself with the pride in my voice. This is my husband, Mark, his mother, Eleanor, and his sister, Beth. Mr. Rossi shook their hands warmly. I felt grateful that Eleanor would finally see the respect I'd earned here. Eleanor's smile was polite but strained as she surveyed the modest dining room with critical eyes. The red vinyl booths, mismatched chairs, and handwritten specials board clearly didn't meet her standards, but she was here making an effort. We'll take good care of you tonight, Mr. Rossi promised, leading us to the corner booth I'd suggested. It offered privacy for family conversation while giving me a clear view of the kitchen where Sophia worked her magic. Sophia caught my eye and winked. Leo, setting tables, gave me a thumbs up and mouthed, "Happy birthday." Settling into the booth felt surreal. I'd served countless meals at this very table, but now I sat as a guest. Eleanor examined the laminated menu with visible skepticism, holding it like it might contaminate her hands. Beth scrolled through her phone, occasionally glancing up to exchange looks with Mark. The chicken parmesan is excellent here, I offered, trying to bridge my two worlds. Mr. Rossi's wife makes the sauce from her grandmother's recipe. Eleanor nodded politely but ordered the most expensive item, lobster ravioli, which wasn't even a signature dish. Mark's behavior throughout dinner struck me as nervous excitement. He kept checking his phone under the table, responding to texts while trying to maintain conversation. Are you expecting an important call? I asked when his phone buzzed for the 4th time. He glanced at Eleanor, receiving a silent approval. Just coordinating some surprise elements for tonight, he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Eleanor's conversation felt artificial. She asked about my community college classes with false interest, nodding along while clearly thinking about something else. Her usual criticism was absent, replaced by an odd pleasantness that filled me with hope. You've been working so hard to improve yourself, Eleanor said as we waited for our main courses. It's admirable how determined you've been despite all the challenges. Her words sounded supportive, but something in her tone made them feel like a setup. Beth snorted quietly, quickly covering it with a cough. The birthday cake appeared as we finished dinner, carried by Sandra, a newer server. She placed it carefully in front of me, smiling warmly as the entire restaurant began singing, "Happy Birthday." Regular customers joined in, creating a chorus of genuine affection. "Make a wish," Mark said, positioning his phone to capture the moment. I closed my eyes and wished for the courage to share my job offer gracefully, hoping this announcement would finally bridge the gap between Eleanor's expectations and my reality. The candles flickered as I blew them out. Eleanor's applause was enthusiastic, but hollow, her hands creating sharp, clapping sounds. She reached into her designer purse with theatrical ceremony, withdrawing the decorated envelope. "We have a special gift for you," she announced, her voice carrying clearly. "From all of us." She held it high. The pink paper with silver butterflies looked festive and innocent. Other customers turned to watch. Beth's phone appeared, also positioned to record. Mark adjusted his angle to capture my face. Their coordination was perfect. "Open it," Eleanor urged, her eyes bright with anticipation I mistook for grandmotherly joy. The envelope felt heavier than expected. Everyone leaned forward. The paper tore easily under my fingernails, revealing official documents folded neatly inside. "Petition for dissolution of marriage," sat at the top of the first page in bold, imposing letters. My breath caught. "Divorce papers. On my birthday. In front of my coworkers and regulars." The decorated envelope, so innocent, was a weapon designed for maximum destruction of my dignity. The restaurant buzzed with normal conversation, but our corner booth existed in a bubble of tension so thick I could barely breathe. Eleanor's satisfied expression confirmed this wasn't a mistake. This was exactly what she'd planned. Mark's phone remained steady, recording my reaction. They wanted to capture this moment of devastation, probably to watch it later and share it. My humiliation was their entertainment. The papers felt heavy in my trembling hands as I looked up at three faces watching me. Eleanor's smile was triumphant. Beth's expression was gleeful. Mark looked nervous but excited. They had turned my birthday into their victory celebration, using my workplace as a stage for my public destruction. Time seemed to slow. The decorated envelope with its innocent butterflies had delivered the cruelest blow imaginable. But instead of the devastation they expected, I felt something entirely different wash over me. Clarity. Pure, crystalline clarity about who these people really were and what this moment actually meant. Eleanor's smile was radiant with satisfaction as she watched me absorb the contents of her gift. Her eyes sparkled with the joy of someone who'd successfully executed a plan months in the making. Beth leaned forward, phone still recording, hungry for the breakdown they'd orchestrated. Mark's camera remained focused on my face, waiting for tears that would never come. The restaurant's ambient noise faded as nearby diners sensed drama unfolding. Mrs. Peterson turned in her chair for a better view. The young couple at table 12 stopped their conversation mid-sentence. I looked down at the legal documents again, noting the careful preparation. Someone had hired an attorney, filed paperwork, and coordinated timing. The divorce petition was thorough, requiring only my signature to dissolve our marriage. They'd even brought a pen anticipating my compliance. "Well," Eleanor prompted when my silence stretched longer than she'd expected. "Aren't you going to say something?" Her voice invited everyone to witness my reaction. The expectation was clear. I was supposed to beg, cry, or create a scene. Instead, I reached for the pen they'd provided and signed my name, my handwriting steadier than it had been in months. The ink flowed smoothly, marking the end of a marriage, but also the beginning of something they couldn't imagine. Eleanor's triumphant expression faltered as I calmly folded the papers and returned them to their decorative envelope. Mark's phone wavered. "That's it?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "You're not going to fight this or ask questions?" His disappointment was palpable. My calm acceptance wasn't providing the entertainment they'd anticipated. "Thank you," I said, standing from the booth with dignity intact. "This is actually the most generous gift you could have given me." Eleanor's face shifted from satisfaction to bewilderment as I reached into my purse and withdrew my own envelope, the official job offer letter from Grand Plaza Hotel. "I have some news to share as well," I announced, my voice carrying clearly through the hushed restaurant. 3 days ago, I was offered a position as guest services coordinator at Grand Plaza Hotel. The salary is $45,000 annually with full benefits and housing included. The words felt powerful, each landing with precision in the silence that followed. Eleanor's mouth opened slightly but no sound emerged. Beth's phone slipped in her grasp before she recovered, though her expression had shifted from gleeful anticipation to stunned disbelief. Mark's camera captured his own shocked face in the black screen as he forgot to keep filming. "The position starts in 2 weeks, I continued, enjoying the weight of their attention for reasons completely different from what they'd planned. "It's in another city about 3 hours from here. A fresh start with people who value restaurant experience and customer service skills." Each detail was a small victory over their months of criticism. The restaurant erupted. Mr. Rossi's voice boomed, Chloe, that's wonderful news. Sophia's face appeared in the kitchen window, her smile broad. You deserve this, she called out. Leo dropped his cleaning cloth and started clapping, his enthusiasm infectious as other staff joined in. The sound of applause filled Rossi's as my coworkers celebrated news that transformed their colleagues' humiliation into triumph. Regular customers who'd watched me work through difficult months stood up, adding their voices. Mrs. Peterson raised her water glass. To Chloe and her bright future, she declared. The restaurant became a community rallying around someone they'd watched struggle. Their genuine joy drowned out the family who'd tried to destroy me. Eleanor's face cycled through emotions I'd never seen. Confusion, disbelief, then something disturbingly like fear. She'd expected to deliver a devastating blow to a vulnerable woman, not hand freedom to someone who'd already secured her independence. Her carefully planned moment of triumph was collapsing into public embarrassment. You knew about this job when you signed those papers? Mark asked, his voice strained with the realization that I'd outmaneuvered them. His phone hung forgotten as he processed that his wife had just accepted a divorce while holding a career opportunity that exceeded every criticism his family had leveled against me. I received the offer 3 days ago, I confirmed, watching his face pale as the timeline clicked into place. The same day you all started acting mysteriously excited about my birthday celebration. Beth's phone captured Mark's growing understanding that their surprise had backfired spectacularly. The irony was perfect and devastating. Eleanor had handed me divorce papers expecting to break me, but she'd actually freed me to pursue the professional respect she'd always claimed I couldn't achieve. Their cruelty had eliminated the only obstacle preventing me from accepting an opportunity that would prove every negative thing they'd said about my potential was wrong. The training program includes management development, I added, pulling the official letterhead from my purse. They specifically recruited me because of my restaurant background. Apparently, my experience here at Rossi's demonstrates exactly the skills they value for advancement in hospitality management. Mr. Rossi appeared beside our table, his face glowing with pride. Chloe is one of our finest employees, he told Eleanor directly. Smart, dedicated, and respected by everyone here. This hotel is lucky to have her. His words carried the weight of 3 years watching me work with integrity. Eleanor's silence was deafening. The woman who'd spent 2 years lecturing me about professional inadequacy now sat speechless as my coworkers celebrated an achievement that invalidated every criticism she'd made. Her decorated envelope had delivered my freedom instead of my destruction. Beth lowered her phone slowly, finally understanding that their perfectly planned ambush had become my moment of vindication. The video they'd intended to share as entertainment would now document their own failure to recognize worth that others had discovered and valued. Mark stared at the job offer letter like it was written in a foreign language. 2 years of supporting his mother's criticism had just cost him a wife who was walking away with professional success, financial independence, and the moral high ground he'd helped them steal from me. The silence that followed my job announcement stretched across Rossi's dining room like a held breath. I stood beside our corner booth, divorce papers in one hand and my future in the other, watching Eleanor's face cycle through emotions she'd never shown before. The woman who'd orchestrated this public execution now sat speechless, her satisfied smile frozen into something resembling panic. Mark's phone remained motionless, its black screen reflecting his stunned expression. The video he'd been so eager to capture had become evidence of his own miscalculation rather than my humiliation. You planned this, Eleanor finally whispered, her voice barely audible. You knew about the divorce papers. Her accusation carried no conviction. She was beginning to understand that my calm reaction wasn't planned. It was genuine relief disguised as composure. I planned nothing, I replied, my voice steady and clear enough for nearby tables to hear. You handed me freedom I didn't even know I wanted. 3 days ago, while you were preparing those papers, I received validation that everything you've said about my limitations was wrong. The timing was perfect, almost supernatural in its irony. Beth's phone captured her mother's growing realization that their surprise had backfired completely. Eleanor had expected tears, pleas for forgiveness, or desperate attempts to salvage our marriage. Instead, she'd handed liberation to someone who was already planning to leave their toxic judgment behind. $45,000, I repeated, letting the number sink into their consciousness. Plus benefits, housing, and career advancement opportunities. The management training program starts with my employment. Each detail was a small explosion in their narrative about my professional inadequacy. Mr. Rossi reached our table, his weathered hands clasping mine. Chloe, this is incredible news, he said loudly. Grand Plaza Hotel is getting someone special. We're going to miss you terribly, but this opportunity is exactly what you deserve. His words carried the weight of 3 years watching me handle difficult customers, work double shifts, and maintain grace under pressure. Mr. Rossi's public endorsement validated my character. Sophia emerged from the kitchen, flowers still dusting her apron. You're going to be amazing, she called out. Show them what Rossi's girls can do when given real chances. Leo appeared beside Sophia, beaming. This is the best birthday surprise ever. You're going to run that whole hotel someday. His enthusiasm spread through the staff. Regular customers began approaching, drawn by the celebration. Mrs. Chin squeezed my shoulder gently. Good for you, honey. You always seem too smart for, she paused, glancing at Eleanor, staying in one place forever. The contrast between my supporters and Mark's family became stark. Rossi's staff and customers surrounded me with genuine affection, while Eleanor, Mark, and Beth remained frozen, processing how their moment of triumph had transformed into public embarrassment. When do you start? Mr. Rossi asked, drawing more staff into our growing circle. 2 weeks, I answered, watching Eleanor's face pale further. She was beginning to understand that I'd been planning my escape while she was planning my destruction. The divorce papers she'd prepared as my ending were actually clearing the path for my new beginning. Mark finally found his voice. You're really leaving? Just like that? His question revealed how little he understood the damage his family had inflicted. I'm really free, I corrected, emphasizing the word. Free to work where I'm valued, live where I'm respected, and build relationships with people who celebrate my success instead of planning my failure. My words were measured and calm, but they cut through the restaurant's noise. Eleanor attempted to regain control. This is all very sudden, dear. Perhaps you should think carefully before making such drastic decisions. The endearment sounded hollow and desperate. I've been thinking for 2 years, I replied, meeting her gaze directly. Every criticism, every comparison, every suggestion that I wasn't good enough for this family, all of it led me to this moment. You were right about one thing, Eleanor. I do deserve better. The restaurant's applause grew louder. The beautiful thing about timing, I continued, my voice growing stronger, is that your gift of divorce papers arrived exactly when I was ready to accept freedom. I don't have to choose between my marriage and my self-respect anymore. You've made that decision beautifully simple. Beth's recording captured her family's growing discomfort. They'd come as executioners but found themselves defendants. Eleanor's purse sat open, the decorative envelope her weapon, looking ridiculous and childish. It had become evidence of her cruelty, preserved in video recordings that would tell a very different story than she'd intended. The weight of 2 years' criticism lifted from my shoulders as I prepared to leave Rossi's for the final time. Every snide comment, every suggestion that I wasn't worthy, evaporated. Mark's attempt to process what had happened played out across his features. His mother's birthday gift had just cost him a wife who was walking away with dignity, success, and freedom. The recording in his hands would forever document his family's cruelty. Eleanor sat motionless, her satisfied smile completely erased by the realization that her perfectly planned revenge had become my perfect escape. The decorated envelope looked pathetic and impotent. I walked out of Rossi's restaurant that night, carrying nothing but my purse and my dignity. I left behind a family that had just revealed their true nature to an entire room of witnesses. The cool evening air felt cleaner than it had in months, and each step toward my car marked another moment of distance from people who'd never deserved my efforts to earn their approval. The drive home was silent, except for my phone buzzing with messages I didn't read. Mark, Eleanor, and Beth were probably coordinating damage control. Their desperate attempts to reach me felt powerless now that I held the key to my own future. 2 weeks later, I stood in the marble lobby of Grand Plaza Hotel, wearing a professional uniform that felt like armor. The name tag read Chloe Walsh, Guest Services Coordinator. My maiden name had returned along with my self-respect. The employee residential building became my sanctuary. My furnished apartment, small but beautifully designed, offered large windows overlooking the city and a balcony where I could drink morning coffee in peaceful silence. No one criticized my choices, questioned my worth, or made me feel like an unwelcome guest. Sarah Chin became more than my supervisor. She became a mentor who saw leadership potential Eleanor had tried to convince me didn't exist. During my first month, Sarah assigned me to VIP guest relations. Your restaurant background gives you instincts other coordinators learn through training, she explained. You read people naturally, anticipate needs, and handle pressure without losing your composure. Those skills are exactly what luxury hospitality requires. The management training program opened doors I'd never imagined. My first promotion to assistant guest services manager came 4 months later, accompanied by a salary increase that pushed my annual income above $50,000. I could afford luxuries I'd only dreamed about: quality clothes, regular salon appointments, and a savings account that grew. Word of my success filtered back through mutual acquaintances. Barbara, Eleanor's country club friend, happened to stay at Grand Plaza. She recognized my name and requested my assistance. You're Mark's ex-wife, aren't you? Barbara asked. Eleanor mentioned you worked in hospitality, but she never said you were management at such a prestigious hotel. Her surprise was genuine and telling. Eleanor had clearly downplayed my achievements. Barbara's glowing review reached Eleanor through their social network within days. My success was becoming impossible for Eleanor to minimize. Mark's attempts to reconnect began arriving through social media messages I never answered. His texts grew desperate as he realized what he'd lost. But Eleanor's lessons had taught me not to trust people who celebrated my perceived failures. His regret felt hollow compared to the genuine respect I'd found. The divorce settlement proceedings worked entirely in my favor, thanks to their own documentation. Mark's video recording of the birthday ambush became evidence of planned emotional cruelty. No judge would award alimony or shared assets to someone who'd orchestrated public humiliation for entertainment purposes. Eleanor's legal strategy backfired as completely as her birthday surprise. Her decorated envelope became Exhibit A. Her attention to detail, the timing, the location, the coordination, all proved premeditation that protected me from financial obligations. 6 months after that night at Rossi's, I was promoted again to guest services manager, supervising a team of 12. The position came with a company car, an expense account, and a salary approaching $60,000. Every milestone validated Sarah's assessment of my potential and contradicted Eleanor's predictions. The hotel's annual employee recognition ceremony became my moment of ultimate vindication. Standing on stage accepting an award for exceptional customer satisfaction, I thought about Eleanor's phone conversation where she'd prayed for Mark to come to his senses. Her prayers had been answered in ways she never intended. My acceptance speech was brief but meaningful, thanking my team and acknowledging the restaurant experience that had prepared me. The audience of hotel executives and business leaders applauded someone Eleanor had dismissed as unworthy. Their respect felt earned, genuine rather than conditional. Beth's social media posts about ambitious women stopped entirely after my promotion announcements began appearing in local business publications. Mark's LinkedIn connection request arrived the same week as my manager promotion. His attempt to reconnect professionally felt pathetic. The man who'd recorded my expected humiliation now wanted association with my actual success. The greatest satisfaction came from living well without needing their approval or acknowledgement. My happiness was complete and self-contained, built on genuine achievements and authentic relationships. Eleanor's judgment had become irrelevant to my life satisfaction. My new colleagues respected my opinions, valued my contributions, and trusted my leadership. The professional environment Eleanor claimed I could never access had welcomed me warmly and rewarded my efforts with advancement. Every day at Grand Plaza Hotel confirmed that her assessment of my potential had been completely wrong. The ultimate revenge wasn't causing them pain. It was proving their cruelty had been based on jealousy and insecurity, rather than an accurate evaluation of my character. Eleanor's need to diminish me had revealed more about her limitations than mine. Her birthday gift of divorce papers had freed me to discover a success that existed far beyond her narrow vision of acceptable achievement. Today, sitting in my corner office 18 months after that night at Rossi's, I look out at the city skyline and feel a profound gratitude for every criticism that pushed me toward independence. Eleanor's decorated envelope, intended as a weapon of destruction, instead delivered the greatest gift imaginable: liberation from people who never deserved the effort I spent trying to earn their love. So there it is, my journey from perceived failure to undeniable triumph. It makes me wonder, what would you have done in my shoes? Or have you ever had a moment where someone's attempt to tear you down actually set you free? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to hear your stories.